So this is our weekly ALI series, Advanced Learning Institute. And just, I don't know even if you, Aaron and Johanna, if you know this, but this was the origins of this weekly gathering that we have started probably 25 years ago when the Bureau of Jewish Education started a Melton class, and there was a group of adults who started learning every week together. And it continued after the Melton program was over. And then when the Bureau closed, the collaborative took over the sort of the administration of that program. And then when COVID came, we went online, and here we are. So, and we've been learning online with people basically since April of 20. And usually what happens is there's like a scholar will teach like a 4-week class. So it'll be the 4 Mondays in October or something like that. And we have about 6 people. I'm just sort of orienting them, 6 people who sort of rotate different classes. Sometimes we have a special guest scholar for a month. But today last week Scott talked about the origins of Hamas, and today I was hoping that you would talk about really what's happened, from it being an Israeli resident in a way that probably most of us can't fully appreciate. And so we're really honored to have you here. And we are not putting this on Facebook today, but the recording will be available. So here we go.
So I'm Johanna, and my husband, Aaron.
I am Aaron.
And we are from Orange County. We've known Marcia since she moved to Orange County. And we made Aliyah in November 2020. So during Corona, both our daughters live in Tel Aviv, and that's one of them there, Sophie Miller. And she lives right down the street from us, which is super cool. And then and so we moved here also, and we didn't have a plan. It was sort of a very impromptu decision. We had started the Aliyah process just in case at one time we might want to move here, and then Corona hit and we were like, yeah, we're moving here. So we did, and we both found jobs here, and we've made a life. We bought an apartment, we brought our dog over, we were building a community, and we've been really, really busy working, and we work a lot. We work Sunday through Thursday, which is a typical Israeli work week. And we have found that we weren't really doing a lot of other cultural activities. We live right near a theater. We live walking distance to everything here. We live right near Kikar Dizengoff, for those of you who know where that is. So in the heart of the heart. And we decided we are going to really make an effort to go and do more things. So we signed up for a hike. And it's in the north on a river, and it's supposed to be gorgeous, lots of green, wear shoes you could hike in the water. It's going to be beautiful. And we got up at 5:30 in the morning, because we had to be at the bus at 6 and drive. And we drove 2 hours. And on the way there, people are checking their phone, which is very normal. But then we had a stop at a gas station to go to the bathroom and get coffee. And we hear, it's all Hebrew speakers. They're all Israelis, except us, being we are Israeli, but we are considered Anglo. We aren't native. We're English speakers. Although you'll hear. So people are talking, and I hear them say, well, Bibi just said this, and they're just talking amongst themselves, and whatever, we don't know. We arrive at the trailhead, and this one woman, she's saying in Hebrew, this is not a normal situation. We really need to go back. This is not a normal situation. And we don't know what she's talking about specifically. And another woman's like, well, I want to go. We came all the way here, and and it's only in the south. And this was October 7th. So then they said, okay, they're deciding. The tour guide's like, I don't know what to do. I've never been in this situation. Someone said, call the police and ask them what you should do. So now it's like 9:30 in the morning. He calls the police station in Ma'alot, which is the closest police station to where we are, and asks them, is it safe for us to go on this hike? And apparently they told him, go back to Tel Aviv now. That was it. And what he explained, came over to us and spoke to us directly, said, look, it's not just that he said to go back to Tel Aviv, but he said it in a way that I could hear the tension in his voice, and we're going to go back. On the way back, then everybody's finding out what's going on. And of course, you know, we're used to having this in the South. The South has been under rocket fire. For those of you who know, the South has been under rocket fire since Hamas took over in 2006. This is not, rocket fire is not a new thing to the residents of the South. So we get back and then we understand that it's something horrible. The streets of Tel Aviv are deserted. We had ridden our bikes over to the train station, which is where the bus was. It's about a 20-minute bike ride. And we had to get back to our apartment 20 minutes by bike. And we didn't know what was going on. And there's nobody out. And we were like, okay, we rode really fast because there had already been sirens going off. So, which means there were already rocket attacks happening in Tel Aviv. And we got back here and just started figuring out what was going on. And at that point, it was really frustrating because my Hebrew is not good enough to watch the news here and understand what's going on in the Hebrew news. And that was really disorienting and really upsetting to me. Of course, we were gleaning information from all kinds of other sources as well. Then the next morning, I think we had a few sirens that night as well. And we went down. We don't have a bomb shelter in our apartment. There is a public shelter right next door to us, but we have 90 seconds to get to a shelter from where we are in Tel Aviv. And 90 seconds is a lot of time compared to the people in the South who have 15 seconds to get to a shelter before. And the reason you get to a shelter, and even though Iron Dome, I mean, I'm sure you've all heard about Iron Dome and how amazing it is, and it is amazing. Even though Iron Dome hits the rockets out of the sky and you don't get a direct hit on your building necessarily, there's still shrapnel that's falling from the sky once that happens. So even if you have a siren, it's called an azaka, you take shelter and you're supposed to stay there for 10 minutes until the shrapnel has all fallen. Most of the injuries are in Tel Aviv are as a result of people being outside and getting hit by shrapnel. So I don't remember my thoughts specifically beyond that on October 7th, but on October 8th, we went out. We were like, what are we supposed to do? And we went to Kikar Dizengoff, literally a minute outside our door.
Yeah, so Kikar Dizengoff was fairly busy in the beginning of the day, and it was set up for volunteers, okay? And it was a completely 100% volunteer-based, it's like a giant traffic circle right in the heart central Tel Aviv, and people were bringing their pop-up tents, and there were various stations that were just being set up by volunteers. There was a station where you could take used boxes and you could tape them up. There was a station with certain types of food for families. There was a station for healthcare related items. There was a station for coffee, and there was a station for, say, children's and family type food. And people would come, and what I was doing most of the day was just assembling and taping used boxes up and putting them in a pile for the next wave of volunteers to come and take them to the various stations to be filled up with product. And that product was then taken to another loading area, which was all, again, volunteers, people just bringing their cars and taking those boxes that have been identified and labeled with typically what's in them and who they're for. And those cars, private cars, were going to the south to take those boxes up there. And what was really interesting is that, you know, you could go from station to station and fill up the boxes, but there was also a nice place where people were writing notes that you could enclose inside the boxes. So I'm like, you know what? I've been taping boxes for multiple hours. I'm going to try something a little different. So I went over to the note writing area. And as I was there, I was writing notes, thanking the soldiers for their bravery and protecting the country. And as I was writing them, I said, you know what? Maybe I'll just put my Israeli number on the back of some of these notes. So I started writing my number on the back of the notes, and they were all, very sincere, very thankful notes. And it made me feel good that I was writing something in addition to the individual note that I was putting my phone number on, because maybe someone would call me. Okay. So a couple days, and this whole event, by the way, all of the items that were being brought in were all being brought in by volunteers also. So they were able to take, go shopping. They brought bags of food. They brought back shopping carts full of food that they just bought literally across the street. And they were we were using that as our inventory to fill up the boxes. And that was going on for many, many hours. The beginning of the day were less, but I would say at peak, there were probably over 200 to 300 people there in that circle, just filling up boxes and getting them sent out. It was a very nice experience to be with the other people. But what was interesting, a few days later after that, it was a little after 8 a.m. I get a call on my cell phone and I look at it. I'm like, that's kind of weird. An Israeli phone number. I don't know. It could be just a miscellaneous call, but I answered the phone, and the person who is on the other end says, hello, my name is Lieutenant Colonel. Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm in charge of a team of 100 medics. I'm the head medic officer of this unit. And I wanted to let you know that we received your note, we received your box, and everyone was so thankful to receive your note and the words that you wrote and what was in the box. It comes with just so much gratitude. And I'm thinking to myself, here's a guy that's on the front line. He's in the north, and I'm just having a hard time just wrapping around. I'm getting a call from a very, very senior level IDF officer thanking me on behalf of his 100 unit troops for what I wrote and what I sent. It was so meaningful to me. It just was something that you would never imagine would ever happen, just happened that morning.
And Aaron asked him, is there anything else you need? The other thing that happened on October 7th that we were not a part of, but this is absolutely remarkable. And this is part of the reason I don't really want this to be put on Facebook, because frankly, this is the inside baseball stuff. The Israeli government is essentially not functioning. It's not getting enough supplies to the troops. They're missing some very important tactical gear. They're not servicing the needs of the displaced people from the north and the south. They've evacuated the cities both in the north and in the south. Do you know how many people are displaced within Israel? About 250,000 people are not in their homes right now, that are in hotels, that they're figuring out how to educate the kids while they're gone. And they're not, and the people in the south, there's no plan for them to go back before January. So there's all these families that are in hotels, and they're all in one room. I mean, people are crammed into the hotels, and I'm sure you heard about the protest movement that was for 40 straight weeks, every Saturday night and often on Thursday nights as well. That organization on October 7th, literally when the government didn't do anything, they immediately mobilized, and people were sent to the south to rescue people who were fleeing from the shooting, the terrorists. And they were assembling packages and food packages, and immediately went to work. And this was all done out of their home. And within like 3 days, they had set up at the Tel Aviv Expo, which is the huge convention center, in the basement. And it looks like an Amazon warehouse where there's different sections. The cars drive in underground, and there's a section for clothing, and it gets sorted for children's clothing, adult clothing, etc. They have a section for They did have a section for some more things for the troops. They had stuff for the displaced people. And then this is so uniquely Jewish. They have a whole section for Shiva. They had a Shiva section. So they would put together Shiva boxes, a coffee maker, food, whatever. I think there were books that were associated, the brachot, whatever. And and even when they were setting this up, we did not know how many people had been killed. And the terrorist attack went on for 3 days. It wasn't a one-day situation. It was it kept being reported how many cities were under attack. Now there's 22 cities, towns were under attack at the same time. And they didn't know. And they're even like a week and 2 weeks later, they were still finding terrorists who were hiding in the South. So this was a very extended period of time where there was so much unknown. And as a result, and I told you about my frustration of not being able to really understand the news, I immediately signed up for Ulpan. I was like, okay, this is not untenable. We're here for the duration. I got to do something. And my Hebrew's not bad. I mean, I managed to cancel Aaron's credit card today when he lost it. I managed to make doctor's appointments. I managed to do things, but I want to be able to really watch the news. So, meanwhile, so I signed up for Ulpan. That was one thing I could do. And we started looking for other volunteer opportunities. Because we're not going to go into miluim, meaning the reserve duty. We're not going to go on the front lines. It's not what can we do? So we found grassroots volunteer opportunities. I'll let Aaron.
Yeah, so there happens to be right on Ben Yehuda Street, which is very close to us, as you may know, because it's also close to Kikar Dizengoff, a very, very nice and very warm and welcoming volunteer organization that has set themselves up in the basement of a synagogue at 86 Ben Yehuda, okay? And it's being run almost like a miniature company, but it's all volunteer, okay? And what they're doing in the beginning, they started off trying to find, okay, what can we get from a more of a health-related product perspective, okay? And people were going to drugstores, and I was going to the hardware store. But then we started to develop relationships with the actual military bases. And then we started to understand, what is it that the actual IDF soldiers need and what do the bases need? So we started to get direct requests in for things that are just not existing and they couldn't get themselves. And you think about, okay, what could a soldier need? Well, besides our initially supplying shampoo and soap and toothpaste, that was the beginning, but we converted over to the other major necessities that they need. And the core items that our volunteer group fundraises for and supplies are t-shirts and underwear and socks, just basic things.
You have to understand that the troops on the front lines are in the same clothes for a month. Like, they don't have showers. Wipes, we send them baby wipes. This is how they're living, which is very a normal way to operate, but that's what's happening. So for those of us who are not used to being in the military, we didn't know this, but that's why they need all these things.
Yeah. And then, but it also ranges to, other things that are so important, like tourniquets. There is a shortage of tourniquets for the soldiers. And it's something that you need to have your own tourniquet in case, God forbid, something happens where you need it, okay? Or tactical gloves that are 3/4 inch gloves that protect your knuckles, that are meant for use while you're in a situation where you need to protect your hands. So all these items, energy bars, electrolytes, things like that, headlamps that people are looking for, watches, because most people use their phone for their watch, okay, to keep time. But when you're out in the field, you're not going to have you're going to get to this, but you typically don't have a phone. So watches are also highly in demand. That's another item that we've procured. So we're going after the bulk items now, and we've got resources that are helping us with this. And we are now, as we get money in, we're buying those items and supplying them directly to the troops. The troops are sometimes coming in and picking them up from us on their way to and from. And otherwise, we have people that are also volunteers delivering these items in those boxes to the specific bases that are requesting them. So it's so rewarding to be able to do something like that. As Johanna said, we're not going to be in Miloim, but the next best thing that we can do is have direct support and have an effect on what's going on with the IDF to help them do what they need to do and make them as comfortable as they can be while they're fighting Hamas.
So I'll show you a couple really, really short videos to see what we're doing. So speaking of phones, you'll see the first thing that we're gonna show you, some pretty cool stuff. Share screen. Oops. Share. Okay, this is the volunteer.
Aaron Miller here. We are on Ben Yehuda Street in beautiful Tel Aviv. I'm here with...
Can you hear it?
You can claim your charity
I
tax
can't.
back. I think, I'm not quite sure.
Tax deduction.
Thank you very much. There we go. Tax deduction. Going forward, I reckon we're probably looking at $30,000 to $40,000. So far, we've raised and we've spent close to probably that in the last 3 weeks. And every shekel dollar we get in gets spent wisely.
Yep.
And gets spent quickly, so as many soldiers throughout the entire country can get stuff they need.
Yes. Well, look, you're doing a great job. You're making a major difference for our soldiers. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
And as Neil mentioned, there are certainly opportunities to help provide items and funding for what Neil is buying on a daily basis. So please leverage the links that we're providing at the end of this video. That's a separate link. And we look forward to your participation in helping the soldiers in the
Oh,
field.
did I skip
Yeah,
it?
you skipped it.
Oh, should I go back?
Yeah, go back.
Sorry, guys, I screwed
Aaron
it up.
Miller here. We are on Ben Yehuda Street in beautiful Tel Aviv. I'm here with my friend Neil, and Neil runs the volunteer organization here, and I want him to give you an overview of what we're doing, what we've done, how we're doing it, and our future vision of what we need to do to continue supporting our troops. Neil, it's all yours.
Welcome. Welcome to 86 Ben Yehuda. This is the basement, this is the hall of the shul, where we set up our distribution center.
How many bases have you supplied over the course of the last 3 weeks, Neil?
Well over 50.
Over 50
Over
bases.
50 bases.
And how are you getting the information from the bases to know what specifically they need?
We deal only with commanders. The orders come in to us directly. I have a couple of people working back office. Again, all volunteers. Everyone who works here is voluntary.
Yep. About how many individual soldiers, IDF soldiers, have you supplied?
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
Show us, I know you've got a collection of
Yeah.
some of the items. Give us an idea of some of the more common items that are needed that you're helping supply.
Black tape. Black tape. All units have black tape for either their socks, for taping their magazines together, for covering over shiny parts on the uniforms. Tourniquets, which is probably the most necessary piece of kit on any soldier. This saves your life. It saves mass blood loss if a limb might be removed. Tops, t-shirts, long sleeve. These are green tops. Green or dark colours are most required. Thermal tops now. That's getting quite cold in the north and the south. We're being asked for thermal tops every day. 2 litre. I think they're 2 litre water bottles, which they fill with electrolytes. All soldiers carry, along with the tourniquets, they carry first aid kit in their pocket.
How are you actually getting it out to the troops?
We have a team of volunteer drivers, people who just drive all day, every day, literally to the very north of the country, down to the border with Syria and Lebanon, down to as far south as you can go.
Tell me about your donation process in a general level, and what you think you need going forward, given this war is going to be continuing for many, many months.
So donations are made one of several ways.
Okay, and here is another activity that we are doing at the volunteer center. How come it's not starting?
It's underneath there. You gotta move this.
in
Move
this
the black.
screen? Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, so
Okay, you can see here we're in full swing. We've got some people that have a lot of experience doing this. Say hello, you guys. Hello. Okay. Here we go. We've got some people sit. We're at the second stage.
Can we go too?
This is the Vice President of Human Resources. You want to say hello? There's Howard. There we are. How are we doing there, hun?
I'm trying to get this in here. Good.
Okay, there we go. You can see we got that.
Correct, like
Mark, you want to say hello, everyone?
Hello, everyone.
All right, I like it. Here we are. Sharon's here doing some work. We got the taping area. Looking good. This is the other taping area. And then we get all the way over to the quality control area. This is the most critical area to make sure what is being produced is actually functional. How's the quality control looking?
Great.
Okay, there we go. There we are.
Okay, how do I get out of this? That, and then where is the? There we go.
חבר'ה, תודה רבה רבה. התרומה שלכם מאפשרת לנו מנהיגות קהל, הגעה מהירה על דייר, שמירה על ביטחון החיילים. תודה רבה רבה.
Sorry.
חבר'ה, תודה רבה רבה. התרומה שלכם מאפשרת לנו מנהיגות קהל, הגעה מהירה על דייר, שמירה על ביטחון החיילים. תודה רבה רבה. נשק לספור, כן, עמר, בוא נראה אם זה עובד. הופה, עכשיו נוכל להדיר את הטלפונים שלנו בשטח בפני ההורים, ולא צריך פה טלפונים אדומים. תודה רבה.
Can you explain a little bit about what that was and how you sort of circumvented the charger shortage?
Yeah, so that you want to tell? Okay.
Yeah, so what was happening in the beginning, everyone needed battery packs, okay? And there's only a limited number of battery pack chargers in Israel. So those just ran out within a couple of days. And one of the members of the volunteer organization came up with an idea.
Let me just explain one thing.
Go ahead.
Armored vehicles, such as tanks and armored, like Humvees and armored vehicles, do not have USB chargers and do not have cigarette lighter chargers.
Yeah.
And not only do they need their personal phones, but they use satellite encrypted phones for their communications with the military, you know, with the other parts of the military and to get their coordinates, etc. So having a charged phone and a charged computer is very important.
Yeah, so one of the members of the volunteer organization saw that there's a major need, saw that you can't buy what is required to charge the phones. So he made one himself, where he's using a 3D printed component. It's like two components that go together. And the 3D printed component that he designed is being printed by many, many people throughout Israel, and they're being shipped to him. Okay, there's one commercial part that is the phone receptacle that you and I would know, the USB plug. Okay, that's commercial. But all the other component that actually goes into the Humvee or the military vehicle was designed by him, and using standard rivets, using copper wire that were rolling out and were cutting to length and bending, as you saw. All the componentry and the taping and the quality control electrical testing was all done by this one volunteer who devised the process, and he came up with the design. And literally our goal is to craft and put together 100,000 of these units to charge phones. And they're heavily, heavily in demand. One weekend we made somewhere close to 4,000 or so. And it's just, 20 plus people in a few different shifts on 2 different days that line both sides of the table, as you saw, and make these things. So those are some of the activities that we're doing. And it makes you feel so much better knowing that literally, you saw that in the video, they're going directly to the hands of the troops that need them the most.
What do they do if there's no USB or cigarette lighter?
I'm sorry, say that again, Maura?
They plug into if there's no USB.
They have a receptacle, but it's
Yeah,
It's huge.
yeah.
It's not
It-
an
It looks
commercial
like,
looking.
yeah, it looks like what you have in your car, but it's a customized unit that goes inside the cigarette lighter of the Humvee.
And whatever they were using, they were frying their computers and not, it wasn't working. So, and the last thing, and then we'll just like open it up. The last area that of huge need in the country is agricultural. 10,000 foreign workers left. Boom. October 8th, agriculture came to a screeching halt, and a lot of agriculture happens in the South. So that's the other place that we've been volunteering in, that they've been begging people to volunteer, is to come to the farms and pick the produce. And I took my work team, we pruned plum trees so they can get ready for the next harvest. And because otherwise it's just good. And the cows hadn't been milked for days because people fled the South, so it wasn't safe. So a lot of the cows died. And so in order to make sure that the agricultural industry here doesn't get decimated, number one, and number two, that we don't have a food shortage, we have to make sure that the agricultural industry stays afloat here. So those are the things that, as citizens, yes, I saw the comments in the chat. It is astounding. It is astounding, that the government is not handling this stuff. One. Number two, it is equally astounding and yet so inspirational that the citizenry is able to do this. And
another example, Johanna and I were riding our bikes back from rowing one morning. It was a Thursday morning, and we see a bunch of women sitting at this table of this restaurant outside, sitting at this table of a restaurant, and they're all gathered around the table. So as I look, I'm like, wow, what are they doing? And they were all making chalot for Friday. They were preparing to make chalot for Friday, and we just happened to we went by Friday morning. We were walking by, and they were beautifully wrapped chalot in cellophane with little bows on both ends, and all those were going to the soldiers that are in the IDF.
There are restaurants that are completely closed, and are only preparing meals with volunteers that come every day to prepare thousands of meals every day to send to the Milamim. So I just with that, what other I think you can put in the chat and see what
I'm gonna just step in for a second. A couple things. First of all, this was, I knew this would be enlightening, but more than I even imagined. So first of all, just thank you for being with us. I think that everybody's probably going like, holy cow. Mark Viali's joining us now. So a couple questions. First of all, I'm just wondering, in terms of the general economy of Israel, I assume all tourism has come to a halt completely, which just is also taking a devastating toll on the country. And are they accepting volunteers to do the kibbutz and farming work? Are people flying in to do that?
Yes, we've had friends that have come already, and I will say, can you speak up just a tad?
Okay.
Thanks. I will say that it is not scary to be here. Literally at 6 o'clock this evening, we had 177 rockets that were just a barrage all over the country. And I know it sounds really scary, but the alarm went off, and we went downstairs and we sat there for 5 minutes, and the dog knows the drill, and we came back upstairs, and I finished making dinner, and that was it.
Burned it.
And I burned it, I know. Sorry.
So
it was in the oven for a couple minutes longer than I was planning. So
who's organizing? If somebody wants to come over and say, I have 10 days, who do we call?
So it depends where you want to be. So like, we have a friend that was in Jerusalem. So there are different things happening in different communities. The SARL, which is actually an organization, people go to military bases and help pack food up. You don't do anything with guns or anything, but you pack up food and you help at the military base. You could be sweeping, I don't know. So that's one program. JNF, I know, is having a mission come out here in December. Paul Maddox's brother is coming on that, I heard. And I think they're doing agricultural things. And And if anybody's interested, and then a friend of mine, my former colleague from APAC, I saw on Facebook, he was coming out here. He was right down the street, and I told him, gave him a whole list. He came over to 86 Ben Yehuda, and he went to Pankina to make meals. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's just stuff right on the corner.
There's so much to do. So
Yeah.
you don't need a giant tour. All you need to do is come, and there will be plenty for you to do in multiple places. You can't be in two places at the same time, but there are so many worthwhile things that you can take advantage of that are very diverse, that will make you feel good about, one, being in Israel and helping our country.
I'll tell you this. I have another friend, actually a friend of my parents, and he really wants to come, and he's a man in his 80s, and he's perfectly healthy and capable, and his wife doesn't want him to come because she's afraid. And I just want to tell him, first I'm going to mind my own business, but I would tell him if he asked me, come for Israel, and more so come for yourself, because this is a once in a lifetime, please God, opportunity to step up and do something that you to make a huge difference, and you will know that you came and you made a difference. And it's can refugees from other countries safely be imported to do farm work? So the only flights that are coming here are El Al, first of all. So it's not really that there's going to be a lot of influx of refugees here. Sandra, are you raising your hand?
Yes, I have a question because of the accommodations that are being used up by the people that have been displaced. I mean, I myself would love to go, and I'm thinking, first of all, if you come to Israel, you have to have a place to stay. You're going to be using resources, food, whatever, energy. Wouldn't it be better to use that, whatever $1,000 or $2,000 that it costs you for a flight to Israel, to donate that to a volunteer organization? I mean, I've read about all the the ones that are picking produce, so much stuff online.
You know what? If you can do both, do both. If it's an option of doing one over the other, your preference, I mean, that's, you will be able to find a place to stay. There are Airbnbs. There are a lot of, the other thing is there's a lot of people that went to Miluim. They went to the reserve duties. Their apartments are empty and they're trying to sublet them. So there's apartments that are available. So yeah, if you want, if it's totally your personal preference, but my point is that if you feel like you want to come and you want to be a part of this, don't be afraid, is my point.
I'm thinking, Sandra, actually, I'm going to try, I've been talking to Susan Seeley about this. I'm going to try to see if we can get like a kind of an Orange County 12 to 15 person mission to just get on an airplane and like go where people tell us to go. Kind of, we'll figure it out when we get there.
We'll give you a list of stuff to bring.
Okay, which we would do.
We know what needs to be brought.
And in concert, there's so many other questions, but Ria, the most important question Ria has, and then I'll ask mine. Go ahead, Ria.
I'm appalled. If this happened in the United States when Pearl Harbor was attacked, we would be goners. Where the hell is the government? I cannot believe that the armed forces, the Israeli IDF, does not have these supplies all set for a catastrophe. What? I mean, aren't you furious?
We're furious.
Where's your tax money? Where's it going?
So here's the thing. Yeah, we're not happy.
Not happy. I would be absolutely furious.
But we don't have time. We don't have. There will be a time.
But this is a disaster waiting to happen. I cannot. Oh my goodness.
So here.
I mean, it doesn't mean I'm not going to help, but volunteers running a war.
It's true.
I mean, think of it.
Listen,
Hamas knows. Hamas knows that Israel is not functioning.
Well,
let me
yeah.
just say something. It is amazing that the collective volunteer momentum in Israel is getting to the soldiers what normally the government would, but it's being done, it's being done privately.
It's not efficient. It isn't,
So-
if you have the war machine all
Yes.
set up,
Yes.
you're not putting together boxes. They have this whole thing set up. Where were they? They knew this stuff was going to happen. If they didn't, their brains have left them.
We
I
could
would
be talking about, Rhea, we could be talking about this for much longer than the
This
16
is a
minutes we have left.
disaster.
I
I'm
agree,
thinking
but you know what?
this is-
We've got, I know Bruce, you had your hand up as well.
Well, I
Let me-
just
let me
wanted to
just- let me
say
just-
that. No, go
I want
ahead.
to just say one. I want to just say what I want to just one answer to Rhea is that and I totally lost my train of thought. It's the thing I will say is that there are gaps, but the fact is the government, the military quadrupled in 48 hours, and a lot of the equipment, some of like the ceramic vests, those expire. Those have a 5-year life span, and after 5 years they expire and they cannot be used.
Yeah.
So even if you are prepared, it's like when you build a synagogue, do you build for that big enough for the high holidays, which is bigger than you'll ever need every Shabbat, or do you build for regular Shabbat and you make accommodations for the high holidays? Well, it's even the American government is not prepared for the type of thing that just happened in Israel. Bruce, go ahead.
You know what?
I
I'm
was just
sorry.
going to make
I'm
the
sorry.
same comment that
Yeah, but
Rhea,
okay, let me I'll just finish this.
I-
My heart is broken.
I
That
don't-
and I'm afraid that Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran know very well that Israel
don't.
is not prepared.
They don't.
I am just
I would argue the opposite. Just personally from the information that I've been listening to and reading, and also heard from other people like Johanna and Aaron that are there in Israel. So I know that in the first few weeks there was a lot of shortages of supplies, and that the government or the military was not prepared to obviously, provide for the level of increase. 360,000 people showing up to be a new inclusive into the war machine or the IDF is a tremendous, huge influx of people to deal with all at once. And frankly, I think between the volunteerism that's happened in the state, with people such as Aaron and Johanna and other folks that I've been speaking with, but I believe that also I've heard that the government has, or that the military has started to catch up on some of this stuff, and that much of that has started to get better, and that now a lot of the what I've been told is that a lot of the volunteerism is moving more away from providing towards the military and providing towards the people that are being displaced, and the various social, medical, and psychological benefits that need to be provided to all the people that have been displaced. Or I feel that a lot of the volunteerism is now moving towards that, and obviously towards the agriculture. Obviously, hearing this from Johanna and Aaron this morning is a little bit different than what I have been reading about in that from its.
I'll give you another example.
But I just think the big point that Johanna made just now is literally like the quadrupling of the size of the military is a huge effort. And to be able to handle this in the time frame that this country has, I feel like they're doing.
And to your point, Bruce, it's also on the medical side. So I was put in touch with a medic who he's in the Magen David Adom right now. He's was a volunteer for MDA, but now he's with a unit of 30 other people. And I was given his name. They said, reach out to this person. And I did. And he said, we're short, besides tourniquets, we're short what's called hemostatic bandages, which if you have a major wound, you need a hemostatic bandage to plug up that hole. So I went out and I worked on raising funds to get him 60 hemostatic bandages. The order just got placed. and I'm going to pick them up myself from a distributor here in Israel later on this week, and then deliver them hopefully on Friday myself to his unit so he can take them from me. So those are the types of experiences you can have when you're in Israel. And yes, it's very helpful and it's needed to supply and provide funding, which is super important. But there's nothing for Johanna and I more gratifying than knowing that what we're doing here on the ground is actually being used and consumed by the IDF.
And by the displaced. Aaron brings the dog over to the hotels where the kids are staying and the families are staying, so that they can play with our dog and get some emotional relief. So everybody's pitching in. Marcia, did you want to say something?
Yes, and obviously my cat does too. I wanted to say, first of all, Ria, I feel your passion. I just want you to know it's a stunning thing. You know, I don't know if you remember the book that came up, Startup Nation, about, you know, what sort of was so distinctive about Israel and its startup companies. And there will be a time, please God, we should live and be well, where they will write about how the citizens of Israel bridged them through, you know, the beginning of this crisis until they could fully be self-sufficient again, which I believe, as Bruce noted, will happen. But although I can appreciate sort of what this, you know, what it does not inspire, but I just want to say on some level, there will be nothing like this will have ever happened in history, and hopefully it will never have to happen again. I think that, you know, there's always these radical times which completely shift our normal, whatever the normal became, and this is one of those. And I just wanted to let everybody know that so I just because I don't want to lose this opportunity, I'm just going to share my screen. So the collaborative wanted to try to provide a vehicle to I'm sorry, hang on a minute.
Hey, that's us. It looks just like us.
This is you. You are. And Jason is going to Israel to volunteer his time. He's going to be playing on kibbutzim and places where displaced people are staying. A lot of IDF, I guess, base camps, and he's going for 11 days. And he's volunteering his time, but we're sort of using his tour, since he works with the collaborative, to do like an aggregate fundraising campaign. We're hoping, if we can, to raise as close to $20,000, maybe more, 25, to be able to send both, so that to make sure that, you know, so that Aaron and the people he's working with can guide these sort of direct, immediate need supplies, and also the synagogue with whom they're also affiliated. There's a lot of different ways. Many of us have already given money to, so this is how you can do it. You can donate through PayPal, or you can donate through the collaborative, and it'll be tax deductible for you, as opposed to just sending Aaron like $1,000, which I'm sure he'd be very happy about, but it won't be a tax deduction. Anyway, you can do that on our website. And the idea is that many of us have given money to bigger campaigns, to Federation, and to I've given to larger organizations. But what I've learned from Aaron and Johanna is that buys bigger things, but these smaller things that actually make the daily difference, like charging your phone, you know, recharging your phone or whatever, is kind of the next level of how our giving should go. And that's the opportunity that we're trying to create for everybody. So you of course can give directly, but I just wanted you to know about that. And for those of you in Orange County, Jason's giving a concert on November 29th. It's going to be a send-off concert. We're going to have a lovely evening. It's going to be at the home of Karen and Steve Jaffe. And I do hope that as many of you will come and we can talk together and support. Maybe we'll Zoom in with you guys. It'll be morning for you, but you can come on and say hi on their TV or something. You know what I'm saying? That'll be really nice to see you. I want to give you a chance for more questions, but I just wanted you to know that this felt like a purposeful way that we can help. And the other thing is, if you're interested in joining an Orange County mission, maybe in January, if not December, let me know, and we'll try to get that going together.
And we'll help. We'll help you get, you know, whatever organized.
thank
Yeah, we've got room. We've got room for about 15 people. Wouldn't you say?
We have a 900 square foot apartment.
Don't say those
Which
things.
is
You never
very
know
big
who's
in
gonna
Tel
show
Aviv.
up.
Sandra, did you have your hand raised?
I had my hand raised. I'm losing my thought, but you know, you're right about giving to smaller organizations. I know when this first started 3 or 4 weeks ago, the first thing I did was, well, because my cousin, my other cousin, rabbi cousin, is in in Kibbutz Gezer, and the rabbi sent out a letter to. So this is like local. So they had a, you know, a link so we could send money direct to the kibbutz to help whoever, whatever they needed, because they're also trying to, you know, keep bringing displaced people there and things like that. So I think you're right about that. The smaller organizations like yours, that people feel, I don't know, I really feel confident about giving my money there. I know where it's going.
And what's interesting, you know, we raised money for some tactical gloves, and then we got back videos from the soldiers thanking the people that helped, that contributed to that, thanking us. They said, "Thank you, donors from California. We really appreciate your help with the tactical gloves." And they're 2 soldiers in full uniform thanking us collectively for the donation.
But I also know how Ria feels, because there was another link from one of my family members, because her husband is fire rescue, and they don't have enough tactical vests and things like that. They were collecting money for that. So there's always something personal you could give to. Mm-hmm. So, and don't offer your house for 15 people, because Marcia and I, with our family alone, could do that. Thank you. Little levity.
I will say though, I mean, the other thing, okay, in terms of like day in the life, the other things that you can do from there, please keep calling your members of Congress. They are getting 6 to 1. They are getting, you know, ceasefire now. Ceasefire is a death sentence for Israel. It just is. So, and they're getting all the pro-Hamas talking points. So please continue to call members of Congress and keep that in the forefront. I know the Orange County members of Congress, by and large, have been really, really good. And I can even, like, AIPAC has a link that you can just push one button and it'll take you to all of your members of Congress and your senators. Really easy to do. And they say just like literally every day, spend 15 minutes calling them. And yeah.
So thank you. And I also wanted to let you know how impressed I've been with AIPAC's response. So I just want to say, because you're my closest connection to AIPAC, even though I know there's others, but I really want to say thank you on that in that regard.
Well, I've been calling the members of Congress that I have relationships with from here. I've been calling them from here. I've been sending them pictures. And they're responding to me, which is really, really nice. But in terms of it, it's so interesting. There's a heaviness here, and I know everybody, and we've been abroad. We've been in the States when there have been operations here, and our children were here, and we were glued to the news, and we just like, we're pulling our hair out. We didn't know what to do, and what could we do? And it was just so overwhelming and so all consuming. Being here, it's all consuming in a really different way. I mean, we are living our life. We are going to work. We are going to the market. We are going out for ice cream way too much. But we're not going on like huge trips, but we're we're doing our thing. And and it was so interesting because when I watched the entire rally. And Bruce, you went to DC. Yeah. So that was amazing to watch. It was amazing. It was inspiring. It was exciting, but it had a tenor that we do not have here. It was, we have a unity, like you could feel there, but we don't have the festive feeling here. When for the 40 weeks of the Hafganot, the demonstrations against the government, those were like a party. You would go out and people were drumming and they had horns and they were singing, and it was peaceful, but it was fun.
You bring children, everything.
Today, it's just really heavy here.
Yeah.
Every day is just,
So I guess I'd like to know, as we wrap this up, can you share with us, if you have a sense about it, like what's the trajectory for that heaviness to lift? Have you thought about that?
yeah. First of all, the hostages have to come back. That's the biggest thing. The hostages, we will take care of Hamas. I have no concern that can for sure happen, but the hostages have to come back. And that will be a huge boost. The other concern, and I will leave you on this really happy note, is that Hezbollah in the north, it is untenable for us to live with Hezbollah with 160,000, many of them guided missiles that can take out our infrastructure in the north. So the military is going to have to take care of that, because the people in the north are not going to go back. And if the citizenry is not going to go back to their homes, the government's going to have to take care of that. And they're already talking about it. So once they're done in the south, I'll bet you they're going to go to the north. So this is a long war. This is not a couple months. This is going to be extended.
Yeah. Boy, that's really hard to. Thank you, Dennis, for saying that. That was so meaningful. Just to share, be strong and of good courage, said Rabbi Dennis Linson. I'm so glad you came. Thank you, Dennis, and also Bruce. I feel we all share that same thing. We do. We love you and we admire you. And we're so happy that you are giving us this opportunity to feel close to you. We may do another, we may want to do another update. I have a feeling.
Yeah, we're open. We're definitely open to that.
So we'll figure that out. But I do hope that those of you who can join us a week from Wednesday will do so. And again, if you want to help, we'll like at the end of every week, we'll just forward any money that comes in through us over to the work that they're doing, so that you know that.
Thank you.
We can do that through PayPal and stuff like that.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate it. And we hope to see you in Israel.
We hope to see you here. Come visit. Seriously.
Okay.
Even if you don't stay here, you can come for Shabbos dinner.
Take you up on
all
that.
15 of you.
Easily 15. 15's nothing.
All 100 and so of us who belong to the collaborative. Is that what you mean?
All right. I got to run.
Bye,
Aaron's
everyone.
got a meeting.
Shavua tov.